I'm Myke Shrews,
And I'm Tivis,
and you're listening to
the MUNSTER
episode 62. I got it. I had it, Tivis. You didn't need to point up two fingers for me, man. I had it. All right, welcome back, everybody, to the MUNSTERCAST, the podcast where we watch and talk about the Munsters. I am, of course, your host, Myke Shrews, here with my co-host and friend, Tivis. So, Tivis, please tell everybody out there in the Munsterverse, how you been, man?
So after you pointed out the other day that you do our intros twice, I'm just now realizing that's a thing we do.
Yes.
We're 62 episodes in, and I just realized we do that.
Yep. Always. Every single time. It's something I brought up to Tivis yesterday in text and stuff. All right, guys. Well, today, real quick, before we get into it, we actually have a guest that we told you about last episode. So we were going to bring him on here in a quick second, right after we do the shilling, because of course everyone needs to hear a shill. So you can find the Munster Cast on all social media platforms. That is Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, all via the Munster Cast. You can also find us on YouTube via youtube.com/@themunstercast and see our pretty ugly faces every Munster Monday. Then you can swing on over to, if you want, just themunstercast.com, where we have all of our content, videos, blogs, audio, everything like that. And you can even see our guest page and sponsorship page and all that fun stuff there, guys. You can also go over to themunstercast.com/merch and check out our merch shop and find everything over there as well. And then where can they reach us at, Tivis?
You can email us at themonstercast@outlook.com, or you can go to our website. There's a little microphone icon. You can leave us a voice message.
Yes, definitely do that. And there's also a little tip jar on the website as well to do on the website, so you can definitely go over there.
And if you don't want to do that, we also have our Patreon, which, of course, as always, mostly tip jar. But if you do that, you get access to our Discord, where you can follow along with the Munsters today, along with us. I don't believe there will be an episode up in the past week, but there should be a new one today because, again, we have a guest. We're not doing a regular show.
Regular episode today. Yeah. Yes. And then you can also go over to your podcast service of choice and leave us a review or thumbs up, stars, whatever they allow you to do over there. And it's definitely appreciated. It definitely helps the podcast. It definitely helps the fans of Munsters find the podcast. Same as commenting and or liking and sharing the video as well, guys.
Tell a friend helps us more than anything else you can do.
Yes. And lastly, I think that's it.
No, that's it.
That's it for this week. Yeah, that's it. All right. Well, without further ado, then, shall we bring on our guest?
Let's do it.
All right, Mr. Scott. Scott, how you doing today, man?
Not too bad, thank you.
Awesome. We appreciate you coming on, man. It's been the long you reached out to us a couple months ago, I think, and we talked about trying to get you on after the new year, and then things got pushed back. So
you're I gotta say right off the bat, your information you've been adding a lot to our YouTube videos has been invaluable to me. I always love learning new things. So
yeah. For people who don't watch the video or anything like that, Scott actually comments about almost weekly for us, giving us a little information on if for something that we might not have grasped or things that we don't know just because of age gap differences and stuff like that, because
or intelligence.
Right. I wasn't gonna say old, but yeah, we could go old. But no, it's actually really nice because, I mean, we're going through the Munsters today right now, which came out in the late 80s, and I was born in the late 80s, so I wasn't really cognitive of everything that was going on at the time, of course.
And I just missed it.
Yeah. I'm in my mid 30s right now, and I'm just now becoming cognitive of everything in the world. So
I'm in my mid-60s, so
yeah. But yeah, we definitely appreciate all of those comments, man, and they help us open our eyes to not just the Munsters, but a different time era, of course, of when the show was coming out, and I really appreciate all that stuff. So again, thank you for all those, man.
Yeah.
Oh, we're frozen.
Oh no. Oh, you're back, Scott.
There you go.
Awesome.
The video likes to freeze up on us sometimes. All right.
Oh,
so,
you can't imagine the funny looks that Myke has left me with.
yeah. So with that, man, I mean, I would love to pick your brain about your Munster fandom and stuff. So
there's
I
not
gotta
much
ask.
yet. But
Well, how long have you been a Munsters fan? Or
well, I saw the very first episode as it aired on CBS in 19 September, I think, in 1964,
okay,
and I fell in love with it immediately. Of course, putting this into context, we had an antenna, and we could only get one channel. That was CBS out of Channel 12 out of Binghamton, New York. So, but if we had to have a channel of the three channels that they had, then CBS was the best because that had the best programs. Gunsmoke and Lucy and Lost in Space and Lassie, and you go on and on. And so that really it was fortunate in that regard.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, now I think everybody takes it for advantage that we have so much access, or granted, advantage, whatever. That we have so much access to content nowadays with like the streaming services, and then before streaming services, we still have like 100 freaking channels on cable or satellite and all that stuff. So people
are spoiled for choice.
Yes, we are. We definitely are. I remember growing up, and it was when I would stay with my grandparents before they got cable, of course. It was just basic like 4 channels, and even 4 channels compared to like some back in the day where it was like you had 2 channels and that's it. So I'm like, even 4 channels, I felt like very privileged on how much content I could actually watch and stuff. So I always bring up my grandparents, though, because my grandma is actually the one who got me into the Munsters. I'm not sure how long you've been following from the first episode or not with us, but we've talked about it. So, yeah.
Yeah, I've seen them all. I started midway through somewhere. I can't. I think I got onto your channel because when the Munster movie was coming out, I went on YouTube to try to find out information on it, and then the trailer came out, and oh my gosh, everybody was, oh, this is horrible, terrible stuff, and and yours was one of the very few that was kind of like me, had a favorable opinion of it. Well, that's kind of how I got started on that, is because I'd gone through all these, you type in, Munsters trailer, and you get umpteen quazillion things. So kind of an accident, really.
Right. Well, we love that, man. And we strive to try and make it so that our opinion is our true opinion. We're not trying to fake it for anybody or anything like that. So that's what we try and do. And and I found that we've found favor with a lot more Munsters fans in that aspect, because we're genuine with how we feel about, because there are times where we're like, well, this episode was kind of stupid, or and so there are times that we do that. Or even like one of the movies, I think we did one of the movies, and they had like the biker like reindeer scene was just horrible.
Oh yeah, the last scary little Christmas.
And I never actually saw that movie until much Munster Go Home. I did, and Munster Revenge. The other ones I don't honestly think I saw until much later.
Yeah. They're
the Munsters and Munsters Today, I've seen some say were aired on television the first time.
Right. Well, since you brought up the Munsters movie, what did you think about that one? Did you get to watch it?
Yeah, and it was a double feature, as I remember. I went to see it as a Saturday matinee, and I don't know whether it was Ghost of Mr. Chicken or there was another movie at the same time, and my memory's a little faded, but I of course loved anything the Munster. I had, and I appreciate your putting it on there, the Munsters record, the LP record, because I got that. I think probably for a birthday, maybe my folks probably got it for me. And I played that over and over and over again because, wow, number one, it was, I had a little kind of a review of what the storyline was for, I don't know, 3 or 4 of the stories. And then there were songs on the other side. And, I used to go to bed listening to the record. And I always had it so that,
nice.
If you pull the arm up, then it'll repeat. It'll go over. So I went to sleep listening to the Munsters.
Oh, that's awesome. So that was like the Munsters movies that you had seen back in the 60s and was it 80s was the second one, correct? Tivis?
Yes,
So I think
I would say that it was early. I would think early 80s.
I think we talked about
Munsters Revenge, and that had Sid Caesar was in it. And, some others.
Yeah, it wasn't long before Munsters Today started, so maybe
I think that's right, because I think Munsters Today was the late 80s when that very late 80s when that started, and
I think these were like 7 years apart or something like that from the last movie to the show.
Probably, that would probably make sense.
Right. So as far as like the Munsters, though, the Rob Zombie film, did you enjoy that one or?
Oh yeah, I liked it. Well, and I'll tell you, I liked lady that played Lily.
Okay.
And in fact, I can't remember the scene, but there was a scene that flashed there, and she almost looked exactly like Yvonne DiCarlo for a second there. And but I enjoyed the movie. I really liked it. I hope they do another one, like you said. I hope they,
unfortunately, I think Rob Zombie recently came out and said something about how that he wasn't
actively
planning on doing another one because of how rough it was just to get that one done, unfortunately.
Well, I can understand that.
Yeah.
I think it's too bad.
Right.
I think there definitely would be a market out there for it, and I think
even like something
he has a lot of material he could go over.
Yeah. We've even pitched, even just doing like an animated series for a while too, something that would be
something
cool.
like the mini Munsters.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And just do something like that because and we've talked about like Sherry Moon Zombie, the lady who played Lily in the Rob Zombie film. Like we've talked about like her characteristics and the way she portrays it. It feels a lot more like Lee Merriweather's character as we're watching the Munsters today, because of the way that she just the mannerisms and everything. Animated. Yeah.
I could definitely say watching this show has given me a greater appreciation of her performance
in the for the Rob Zombie film. You mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I know I was a little hard on her in my review, but like. It's only aged like fine wine, so
I've seen the movie about 20 times now because my kid loves it. And it's the only way I can get him to watch something Munsters right now. So I'm like, all right, let's do that. I've tried to get him to watch Munsters today. I'm like, dude, it's in color, but he hasn't dove into that one yet. He did the Christmas one though. We all watched the Christmas one together for Christmas time. So
did he inherit your wife's love of
sitcoms? I only saw that.
What
I
was
only
that?
saw the Christmas movie once or twice.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, so like I've seen the Rob Zombie one way too many times now. I'm the one who's boosting the numbers on Netflix. Let's say that. And I own the Blu-ray, but I still just watch it on Netflix to keep the numbers going up for them, And when we went to West Virginia, where my grandparents are living, we ended up getting my grandma to sit down watch it with us too, because she introduced me to the Munsters and like Bewitched and all that fun stuff. So it was nice to be able to sit down with her and experience watching this newer iteration of the Munsters with her, and she loved it. She was like, she hadn't watched the Munsters in a very long time, and she's kind of like on that repetitive mode in age and stuff now. So she, when she saw certain characters, she's like, oh, I remember that, I remember this, I remember. And I was like, yeah, remember. See, it was really great. And I loved it, and my kid sat on her lap the whole time and stuff. So it was a nice emotional thing for me to see. So the Munsters are one of those things that for some reason it keeps like doing something in my life. And I'm not sure if I'm like just willing it into existence because of the podcast or what. So but yeah, as far as the Munsters today, like how old were you around when that came out? I'm not sure.
The Munsters today, I was probably about 30.
Okay. So around our age.
I think it was around 1989. I was born I'm one of the few people, well, not few, there were millions of us, but that were born when there were 49 states. I'm younger than Alaska, but I'm older than Hawaii. So.
Okay.
Oh, that's good.
That's awesome. So when it came out, were you like, oh no, not a reiteration, or not like how a lot of people
No, I was fine with it. I mean, yeah, I would like to see the original ones do a show, but no, I was of course I liked Lee Merriweather, and I liked John
Shook.
Yeah, and he was of course on Macmillan and Wife. He was a sergeant on Macmillan and Wife, and very comic type of character on that. And of course Lee Merriweather had been in Batman, and she'd been
right
on Barnaby Jones, and just a very nice person. And Howard Morton had been on Give Me a Break, and so I was familiar with all the three older ones there. The younger ones, of course, obviously I didn't have any recollection of those. But no, I was perfectly fine with I was not one of the ones oh my gosh, you can't do that. So no, I went into a very open mind, and I enjoyed it at the time. And I can't remember. It doesn't seem to me though that it was on one of the three networks. I think it was on another. I don't know whether it was USA or one of those. That's my recollection, was that maybe it was on one of those. Maybe it was on one of the regular ones, but I don't really remember it being
right.
Which one it was on, but it was one. It was something that I watched, and it was very popular in England. And in fact, that's probably why there was a third series of it. It was much more popular, I think, in England and Europe than it was in America.
Yeah, we found that there's like a pretty big fan base for the Munsters today, like over in the UK and stuff like that, a lot more.
I believe that.
Yeah, and it's pretty cool because we've reached out. We have one of our Patreon members actually does a lot of stuff with the Munsters today, and we're actually gonna be getting him on shortly too to talk about some of the insider information that he possibly has on it and everything. So I think he said that he was also the one who is responsible for the unaired pilot getting released onto the internet as well. So for this show. Yeah.
I wish my only problem is when I watched it, I had nothing to go. That first episode that you saw was the first thing that I saw. Right. And it was a little bit confusing, you know. Yeah, the song, I didn't pay much attention to the beginning thing there. I think it would have been better maybe had they redone the first episode to give you more of a perspective of, okay, they've been frozen in time or something like that. That was so when I saw, I saw it on your show there, that pilot. Well, then that made sense, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what happened.
Yeah, it definitely makes a lot more sense.
You know, you don't know what was going on.
Yeah. Because if we would have jumped into that first episode, I think we would have been really like, I mean, we understand what's going on now with so many years removed from it and with some history and stuff like that, reading about it. But it's just like, it's a lot nicer to be able to understand the story that came beforehand. And it lets you know also, you know, they haven't been in the 80s for like 20-30 years. They've just came here into the 80s, so they're experiencing everything as it's happening in real time for them as well. So I thought that was a really cool thing to be able to see with the whole what is it time travel, or is it just like
hibernation?
Yeah. So, yeah. So yeah, it was definitely great, and that's why one reason why we decided we needed to get the pilot episode on the YouTube at least, because that's the only.
I appreciated you doing it.
Yeah, it's literally the only episode of the Munsters today that YouTube allows us to upload.
Yes.
So I'm like, okay. I think we ended up uploading the unaired pilot for the original series too, didn't we? Or...
Yes. Well, you did.
Okay.
Yeah. All of those videos are Myke's handiwork. So send him praise.
Say that. Don't say that, because then if something goes wrong, it's my fault. Tivis edits all this stuff. What are you guys talking about? I don't touch any of this. Yeah, so I'm trying to think of what else to ask for the Munsters today. Like I did, because I was talking about the whole did you like it when it came out because of the difference. I was always curious because it seems pre-internet days that fans were okay more with some of these changes, you know. Whereas like with Rob Zombie's introduction of it, as soon as they heard Rob Zombie was doing it, they were like, oh, we hate it. It's gonna be a blood fest. It's gonna be a bunch of hillbillies and all this. I'm like, guys, you haven't even seen one image. And yes, Tivis was one of those people. He was like, oh, that's stupid. That's not gonna work.
I'm ashamed.
And then it turned out to be a great, you know, love letter to the Munsters franchise, I think.
To be fair, that was before I realized how much of a sitcom lover Rob Zombie is. So
yeah. I mean, he grew up on this. When I hear Rob Zombie talk about like his days of watching the sitcoms, I think of like Jim Carrey's character from The Cable Guy, who was just obsessed with watching nothing but old sitcoms, and that was his family life. You know, he grew up with it. So, yeah, I'm just always curious how the difference was back in like the 80s and early 90s, because again, I wasn't cognitive to understand what was going on at that time frame about all this stuff. So I didn't know if you had any not issues, but information on how people might have reacted back in the day for not just the Munsters, but any changes to any franchise. Because I think the first one I heard about getting a lot of crap for was Star Wars with the prequel series in the 90s, and that was like the first time I really heard about anything. But that was also like the first, like, internet was starting to boost up more at that time too. So I was wondering, pre-internet era, if there was ever anything that you saw with franchises that did it, because people for some reason think that it's a new thing that they just reboot franchises, and it's not. It's been going on for many decades now.
Well, of course, I didn't have only real technical people had any kind of a computer, and it wasn't the internet. They had years ago. They had what's called bulletin boards. When it was all DOS related stuff, and I really didn't. I was pushed kicking and screaming and getting a computer in 1997, I think it was, and an old IBM, and we didn't like. But at that time, or at least me, I got most of my information about television shows from TV Guide. TV Guide, the little magazine that told you what was on the schedule. Then they would have articles and things on it, and that, in large part, was how I received it, because they didn't have, other than calling somebody and talking to them, you really didn't have a mass way of communication. You couldn't, today you can get on and thousands of people can see something at the same time, and it really wasn't like that then. So I don't remember if you complained about a program, it was generally to yourself or to friends. And some people wrote the studios and things like that. But it was, like I said, I think anyway, for me, when a new show would come on, quite often TV Guide would do an article on it. And interview cast members and stuff. And so that's kind of gave you the idea. And then they would have ads from the movie people themselves. They'd have a picture of the characters and then a little synopsis of what it was about. And then, you watched it.
Yeah, I miss TV Guide, man. Like, they don't have, at least I haven't seen any in the magazine stands recently.
Yeah, I don't know. It used to be a little. It used to be a little
one. Yeah,
a Reader's Digest. Wasn't as thick as that, but about that size. And then later on, I saw it was more regular Time magazine type size, and I was getting it by then. But that was a major source of information, because I didn't. Well, I suppose too, some of the other magazines and stuff that came out, entertainment magazines, but I didn't get any of those.
I think the closest that we have now, I'm gonna try and rip my address off of here before I show it on the camera, is the Remind Mag. Yeah, Tivis has one without an address on it, but this is
just
this has been like one of the magazines that I found to be closest to reminiscent of the old school, TV guides and stuff like that, because of course they're doing the old TV shows and movies and stuff like that, but they also have like the crosswords in them, like TV Guide used to have, or the find word finds, the trivia, because like you have 70s trivia here right now in this one, so that's pretty cool. But Remind has been like one of the ones that I've found to be the closest, and I'm like, can we get something else too, guys? Like, we need more.
We got TV guides in my house, God, for long time, as far back as I can remember. My mom would get them, and then she'd do the crosswords, and I'd flip through, read some of the stuff.
Yeah, well, that used to be one of the only times back in the days that was how you knew what was on and when and where. Like, you didn't have the internet to just Google where is so and so streaming and when is it going to be released for the whole series. I'm like, okay, yeah, sure. Don't get me wrong, I love binge watching stuff too, but because sometimes I only have like a day or two at a time, and then I'm working the rest of the 4 months. Unlike Tivis, who just like, I'll watch it one at a time.
Well, one thing too is you couldn't, today with the Internet Movie Database and stuff, you can look up an actor and stuff. And you might see an actor. Generally, when I was, younger, you would recognize an actor, but you wouldn't have really an idea what their name was. And I was not very good about waiting till the end credits to, read the end credits. But that was about that. You would recognize. You'd see, like on Gunsmoke, they'd have the same actor, and he'd get killed 10 times a year on Gunsmoke as a different character, but you don't know who his name is. Now you can go on and oh, okay, he was born here, died, which is nice, but it wasn't quite like that. And autograph collector, I collected autographs. Yeah. And a friend of mine, he used to get all these autographs. I said, well, how did you get in touch with so-and-so? You could write to the studios and stuff. We generally got a secretarial signature or something. But he would buy or get like a Los Angeles phone book. Amazing the number of people that had their names and phone
they didn't pay for the unlisting.
Not the big name stars,
but they didn't have that either at that time. So
he actually called people up. I wouldn't have had the nerve to do that, but he called people up. Sometimes they were nice, sometimes they were not so nice. But
at least he called and didn't just show up to their house.
True. And he lived in Alabama at that time, so it would have been hard for him to do that. But they wouldn't have known that. But that's how they. And another Who's Who.
Right,
the library and Who's Who, and that worked out. But so it was the computer has changed a lot of things, and I think younger people that maybe grew up with computers and weren't dragged kicking and screaming into the computer age, probably think, well, when you're a kid, you think everything has always been this way. Nothing was really ever different. And so, you're kind of used to things, and you don't think, well, gee, they didn't do this back then or whatever. I
think, I'm not sure about, because Tivis is a little younger than me, but I think for me, because me and my wife talk about it all the time. Sorry, Tivis.
Like 3 years.
I don't know how old you are anymore, dude. But me and my wife always talk about how we're lucky that we were born in the generation that didn't have the tech, and we grew up with it, so we acclimated to it a lot easier, so we know what life is like without it and with it, whereas a lot of kids nowadays are just like, this is all I know. That's it. I'm like, go outside, get dirty, put a bug in your mouth, dude. Come on. Like,
no, don't care.
Tivis, shush. I mean, maybe not in my backyard because I have
it's a good source of protein, but
just don't do it in my backyard because I have chickens and they poop everywhere, and that's bad for you. But I was trying to find out, because you had said something about the channel that the Munsters Today aired on originally, and it's not showing anywhere. Again, this is the issue with the Munsters.
So little information.
There's so little information. It says, it gives me a bunch of different stations for like the local channels, which, I mean, some of them were Fox, some of them were CBS, some of them were, you know.
I could list those for you. I watched those forever. We didn't have cable for a long time.
My network TV, just random TV channels in different
It might have
areas
been
of
on.
the world.
It might have been one of the major ones. Well, I think later, for a while, they had it on. They re-aired it for a while. You know, maybe 4 or 5 years after it was on, because I remember catching a few of those repeat episodes.
Yeah. Let's see here. Here's one. Apparently it was on the CW. That's not right. My network TV in CW.
Was it CW in the UK though?
It was before it was the CW. That's what it
so
is.
WB.
Okay. No, WBKI. Well, I guess, but okay. WB, yeah. But even Telemundo had aired this show before, which
I got a question for you.
I could see this show. I'm sorry, hold on. I was gonna say I could see this show going over really well in Mexico, because I just could see that, because just the way the acting is, sometimes it's a little over top in the costumes and stuff. This would definitely go over very well in Mexico. So I can see why they put it on Telemundo. I was just looking at it. I was just like, yeah, it makes sense. All right, what were you saying, Tim? Sorry.
Well, I was wondering how many episodes does it take for a show to get syndicated?
100, I think.
100.
I think today that's probably right, that they like to have when they came up with the so-called super stations. Probably in the mid to late 70s, early 80s, you had some of the local market stations that were big. There was like WOR, WPIX, WGN in Chicago, I think it was. And one of them, I remember one time, started airing a lot of the, they were very short run series, maybe, of course, like when the Munsters aired and stuff, you'd have 32 episodes, in a season. Yeah. And 39 for some of the shows, which would be unheard of today. My gosh, if you did 39 episodes, the actors go on strike.
It's one thing I love about the Star Trek series was there's like 21 to 27 episodes a season, and there's 7 seasons, and I was just like, yes, give me content. But yeah, like you said, nowadays, could you imagine like if Stranger Things had like 30 episodes a season? Oh my goodness, people would lose their shit.
No, another thing is, like, there's some shows that they want to get straight to the point, and I can appreciate that. But there's other shows, mostly sitcoms and stuff, and especially in the UK, they seem to be getting away from doing more episodes of just them around having fun, and I miss that. The quote unquote filler episodes.
Yeah. I don't know. Sitcoms are so great.
They are.
But I think that sitcoms work best when they're serialized and not meant to be like a long form. Oh, we're going to continue the story in 5 weeks. We're going to end it. And I'm like, we don't need a 5-week long story for a sitcom,
You can have little threads here and there woven throughout, but it doesn't need one continuous story. And that's probably why I love sitcoms so much. You could just sit down any episode and just love it.
But to answer your question too, Tivis, 100 episodes is the traditional threshold for syndication reruns. However, I think they've kind of gone away from that nowadays with streaming, because they just sell the streaming rights to whoever, or they put it on their own streaming service now, and it doesn't even matter. Except for the talent. I mean, once it gets in syndication, usually the talent gets a better residual check. So
Munsters today didn't reach that threshold.
No, it was 27 away, I think. 27 episodes away from 100.
24 times 3, so.
Well, they got 73 episodes, so they're 27 away.
20. I think your math is off, but all right.
No, 73.
There was 24 episodes in 3 seasons. There should no way that should add on. Okay, hang
there
on.
were 73 episodes total, according to Wikipedia at the moment.
72. They probably had the pilot.
Yeah, if you include the pilot, which is what I was adding. Because if you're trying to get into syndication, you claim every episode you shot, whether it went out or not. I think Married with Children even did that because they had a few episodes that were banned and weren't allowed.
Yeah, there was one that
TV.
wasn't allowed to air until 2003.
Yeah,
it was the first time it aired on TV.
And there was one that you couldn't get at all unless you bought the box set. Because Married with Children was very, very
pushing the envelope.
It wasn't Munstery. Let's just say that.
No.
But speaking of the Munsters, Scott, I mean, you said that you had an event coming up. Did you want to talk about that?
Sure. In June 16th to June 18th, the Monster Bash conference is being held and in Mars, Pennsylvania. Okay. And Mars is actually a village in Cranberry Township. And the Monster Bash, one of the guests is going to be Daniel Roebuck. And great man. He actually, Daniel Roebuck, I met years and years, probably 20 years ago, at a Monster Bash. And it was he wasn't a guest. He was, just walking around. He was an attendee like I was.
Mm-hmm.
I walked by him and I thought, God, that looks like the guy from Matlock. I walked around a couple times, Yeah. And finally I thought, oh, what the hell? And so I said, were you on Matlock? And he said, yeah. So I didn't bother him or I didn't have to call security or anything, but that was the first time that I ever had met him. So this will be a more official thing that I can say with that.
Okay.
That's my Daniel Roebuck story, but he used to attend 2 or 3 of them I know in the past because he loves anything to do with monster movies and things like that. And so the Monster Bash really is a nice thing. And they're having this year's is when I first started going to them, you had people from silent monster movies still going to it. But now this year, there's going to be 3 of the actors there were from the 1950s.
Mm-hmm.
And Charlotte Austin was in the movie Frankenstein 1970. And she's going to be there. And Frankenstein 1970 was, of course, I'm not really sure why they think 7. That was Boris Karloff was the star, and Charlotte Austin was one of the actresses that was in that. And then she was in. She had 3 horror-related movies back then, and I've never met her, and so I'm kind of looking forward to that. She was in the Bride and the Beast in 1958, and that's Ed Wood did the script. It wasn't a Ed Wood.
He didn't direct it, but yeah.
But he wrote the story. It's kind of an odd thing, but she plays. Basically, I think she plays the bride in the thing, and marries this guy, has a gorilla, and she's,
and I'm assuming it's it's Ed Wood writing before he went into like adult filmmaking, right? I would hope.
Well, I think the director gets billing and my suspicion is this was an Ed Wood story, and the director thought, "Oh my God, I got to do something." So it's like I said, a bit of an odd story. She is kind of drawn to this gorilla, and then I think comes to find out that she, in a past life, was queen of the gorillas. If I remember, I only saw it maybe once or twice, but it's kind of it's kind of one of those movies. They're kind of so bad they're good.
Someone, it sounds like he watched was it King Kong a little too much and then decided to add on to it.
Well, and like I said, some of these movies, that's the problem with a lot of the older movies and stuff. I think people today, are, they want explosions, and they want, somebody's guts being spurted onto the screen, and stuff. And but if they would just give some of these a chance, I think they'd be entertaining.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And she was like, and she also, it was called The Man Who Turned the Stone, and that actually is not. I kind of like that movie.
Yeah,
kind of like a vampire that takes life forces. Otherwise, he turns into stone. You get petrified.
Right. That's pretty cool.
And then there's.
I was gonna say to your point too about like the whole filmmaking stuff. Like, I'm a big horror guy, and even I'm starting to watch some of like my horror fans or franchises get way too gory. I'm like, you guys kind of ruined the thing that was cool about it was the story. Instead of story, you're now more focused on the visual gore or not even grotesque. It's just they want to try and do the shock value stuff. Or
I find it grotesque.
But I am liking the what we're starting to see now within the film industry again is that we're getting back into taking chances on movies like Everything Everywhere All at Once. I didn't think that movie was ever going to win an Oscar when I saw it, because like I loved it. So I was like, oh, no one else is going to actually give a crap about this movie because I loved it, because it was so weird, it's so different and everything like that. And then it goes and wins an Oscar, and then you have other movies that are coming out just like it, or around the same era of like taking risks and stuff. And I'm one of those guys who watches a lot of foreign films, so I see those risks being taken all the time, just not in American films. So I'm just like, can we get to that era already now, so we're taking more risks? Because right now the majority of films that most people talk about online anyways, outside they're very the same, or outside of like the film buff guys, that really like deep dive into a bunch of films and stuff. Like, most of the people just talk about whatever Marvel's doing, whatever DC's doing, whatever new Fast and Furious, which I love Fast and Furious, but that's all they ever do. The same like a couple franchises and stuff. And I'm just like, let's take more risks. Let's get some more original stuff, and let's dive into something cool. I mean, Tivis might disagree because he likes a lot of the franchise stuff, but I'm just like getting like, all right, I got to go to the movie theater now again for this next Marvel movie, and I have to watch it before.
You don't have to. I haven't seen it.
You have, because they're doing a new Guardians of the Galaxy, I think comes out next month or something. I'm like, I have to see it like almost
my pile.
Weekend, because if I don't see it opening weekend, someone's gonna spoil it because I know 500 people are gonna die.
Even just getting back to like, when's the last time we had like rom-coms? That's why I like rom-coms, because they're very simple. They're basically this the movie version of sitcoms. You just sit down and you enjoy.
Oh, the rom-com era. The rom-com era stopped in like the early 2000s.
I know. I kind of miss like those down to earth type movies. You know,
you gotta do what me and my wife do. We just watch Hallmark movies and make fun of them nonstop.
I can't do that. I can't do that.
I had AI write me and my wife a Hallmark movie the other day.
Stop torturing AI.
With me and her as the characters, and oh my goodness, it was so horrible, but it was so laughable too.
We're gonna have an intervention for you soon.
For people that don't know, I have been messing around with AI, having it write some stories and stuff. So yeah. I had it write an awesome story that Tivis has yet to see about Marilyn Munster, which I am still debating on sharing or not sharing on the podcast.
Probably not.
Because so for people that don't use like AI chats and stuff like that, like you type in a comp and have it write you something, or generally it's made so you can learn something. You know, it was made so you can learn about like different things in science or history and stuff like that, but people use it for everything nowadays. And I found a way, because there's certain things that I want it to tell me, but it won't tell me because it says, oh, we can't tell you this because that invokes violence and stuff, because I'm using characters, universal monster characters, you know. So I'm like, I'm having.
You also asked it how to take over the world.
I did ask it how to take over the world. It would not tell me. I asked it how. I asked the AI how to take over the world with AI, and it would not tell me. It was like, we cannot do that. I was like, okay. And then I asked it to, the other day I asked it to write me some dark jokes. I'm not going to repeat the jokes it gave me because, oh my goodness, it made me cringe. I was like, wow, dude, where is it pulling this information from? But anyway,
people like you.
The moral of the story is don't get addicted to AI. But I have been using it to try and write some cool Munster stories for me, just because I don't have the time. So I just type in some things, and I got one for Maryland based off of some lore that we've built with the show here. And I'm just debating on whether or not I want to tweak it myself, because there's the way that it writes it is not the way people speak, you know, unfortunately. So you have to go in there, and I go in and re-edit afterwards and stuff and tweak it a little bit. So you might guys hear the audio version. I might have an AI bot read it to you guys. Tivis is gonna break today. But anyways, back to Monster Bash. Sorry, Scott.
No problem.
Yeah, honestly, Daniel Roebuck is one of the nicest people I've ever gotten to talk to. So definitely,
you, man. I'm so nice.
No, you're not. It's worth like, definitely, if you're there, have a chance to speak with him. I know he's super appreciative of everyone who enjoys his work. He's the type of guy who just enjoys the process. You know, he likes directing, he likes acting, he just likes making.
Yeah. And again, Scott, what town is that going to be in? Because it's in Pennsylvania.
It's Mars, Pennsylvania, and that is, I think with maps and stuff, it probably will show up as Cranberry Township.
Yeah.
And, it's just north of Pittsburgh.
Okay.
And because that
it's at the Pittsburgh Marriott, right? Is what it says online.
Yes.
Okay.
I believe that's right. Yeah.
And if people want to get tickets to this, they can actually go to creepyclassics.com for our audio listeners who aren't being able to see it.
And they can go to Creepy Classics, and there's a Monster Bash page, and then they can go there. and I never do that. I just buy a ticket, when I get there, and it's $25 a day, which is not bad. I mean, for what you get to see there, it's really amazing. And they have, like I said, there's I think about 10 guests or so. I think you mentioned, Myke, the movie Gods and Monsters.
Mm-hmm.
Well, anyway, Sam Irvin, who was one of the executive producers of that show, he'll be there.
Okay.
Of that movie, and he also did something with Elvira, and that, and they'll and Lynn Lugosi Sparks will be there. She's Bela Lugosi's granddaughter, and
nice.
They had Beverly Washburn. I've met several times at Munster, lovely lady, and she really has. Started in the early 1950s, and she was in Old Yeller. She was a sister in Old Yeller, and she also was. You remember the Star Trek episode where they go to the planet, they come back, and they all start to age? And get old, Spock and Dr. McCoy and that. Well, she was the girl who ages the quickest and dies.
Right, and dies.
Star Trek.
Oh, okay.
And she was in Spider Baby, which is a kind of a bizarre movie. It was one of the last movies Lon Chaney Jr. did. And it was who was it? Sid Haig, I think was his name. He was in that movie.
Rest in peace, Sid Haig.
Strange movie, and but a good movie. And, but she was in a lot of things. She worked with. In fact, she was in the only dramatic thing that Lou Costello ever did. It was a wagon train episode, and she was in that and acted with Lou Costello.
That's awesome. You keep saying all of these like the older like horror icon names and stuff like that too, and it just like brings me back to how you were talking about like back in the day you couldn't just go to the internet and search for these people. So a lot of my horror like references and icons and things like that I learned about were through horror magazines, which like you had your the what was the
Famous Monsters of Filmland. That was Corey Ackerman used to go to all the Monster Bashes for years there until he got ill. But there were Basil, I can't remember what the heck his name. He did a lot of the covers.
Okay.
He painted a lot of the covers of that, and he used to go to Monster Bash.
Nice.
And the very first Monster Bash started in 1997, and my friends Mark and John Polonia, they made horror movies starting in about 87 and that. And they told me they went, and Ray Harryhausen was there in 1998. And after they got back, they were telling me about this thing. And they said, well, why don't you go with us next year? And I said, well, what the heck? And so I went to the 1999 Monster Bash. And I'm glad I did, because Carla Lemley was there. And she was the daughter of Carl Lemley, who ran Universal Studios.
Okay.
And Carla was in the original Phantom of the Opera with Lon Chaney Sr. in 1925, I think it was, the silent version.
Right.
And she also had the distinction of speaking the first lines ever in a Universal horror movie. There's a little bit of a debate on that, on which was talking horror movie, but in Dracula,
Okay.
where the coach is writing there, and she's reading this brochure about Castle Dracula and stuff like that, and so her voice really was the first that you heard in Dracula. So I was and she was a lovely lady. She was, I think, 92 at the time, lived to be over 100.
Yeah.
And so she was there that first time. Sarah Karloff, Boris Karloff's daughter, was there, and Dwight D. Fry, who was Dwight Fry, who played Renfield. He was there at that time. And then, of course, as years go by, fewer and fewer of the old actors are going. And I think Donnie Dunnigan is probably one of the last ones that was in one of the original Frankenstein movies. He was in Son of Frankenstein, 1939. He played young Peter Frankenstein, Basil Rathbone's son, and heck of a nice guy. And he told about how nice Boris Karloff was, and that. So I think it's one of the last ones. But some of these people, have worked with, Boris Karloff and Basil Rathbone and John Carradine and Bela Lugosi and stuff. And it's really kind of amazing to think, that there are people still around that not only knew them, but actually performed with them.
Right. Yeah. I think I had somewhat of a similar conversation when I met Butch Patrick a few months back about just being able to talk to a lot of these people who got to work with such icons in the industry, and you go and talk to some people, because when I say I'm a horror fan, people automatically just assume I'm talking, like I have Chucky here for, that I'm just a slasher fan. I mean, I like slashers to an extent. There's some that just get on my nerves, but I'm also like deep dive horror guys. Like, there were horror movies before, the killers, like before Michael Myers came out and made slashers. There were horror movies before then, and then you had monsters and all that stuff. So it's like there's a deep dive aspect into it, and I like I said, I talked to Butch, and we were going on about how it's just awesome that fans are still able to talk with these people who worked with icons, and they're able to learn more history that way, because eventually all these people are going to be gone, and we're not going to have a way to communicate with the past in such ways.
And
go on.
Go ahead, finish your thought.
I was gonna say, and it's just gonna suck.
No, okay. Well, I was gonna say, you'd be surprised who turns up at local conventions and stuff like that. Like, they got the big ones, like what was that one I went, GalaxyCon and Comic-Con and all that stuff. But the local ones, they get so many more rich history of people, not like current, but sometimes they get current, but a lot of times they pull from people that have done so much in the past and are more done, retired in a way, or are still doing it but in a very smaller capacity. And we started going to our local stuff last year. I started taking my wife, and we both really love it. I can't recommend enough that you go check out your local conventions, support them, see what names they get, throw out some names. You'd be surprised who will say yes to showing up.
I wouldn't even say just your local ones, like local conventions. Just look and see at your local comic shops, your local toy shops, because that's where I ended up meeting Butch, was a comic shop in town. They just had them set up in the front, and
that
was
how
awesome.
I got a semi, I wouldn't say friendship, but I know Dirk Manning kind of well now, because he's really good friends with the guy who ran my comic shop. So
yeah. So there's all these other avenues to meet a lot of these people that a lot of people are just like, I can't afford to go to the conventions, or like for the Monster Bash, it's like, well, it's not in my state or not in my city, or that's too much far. I'm like, yeah, but there are a lot of other avenues to go to find because these people travel to you. You don't have to travel to them necessarily, unless you want to go to like Comic-Con,
Well, and the thing about Monster Bash, of course, Monster Bash also in the early days had almost anyone that was in the movie Night of the Living Dead there, because it was filmed not too far. In fact, we've gone to the cemetery, where that was filmed and everything. The house was gone. In fact, the house was going to be torn down anyway when they filmed it. That's how come they could do some things with it. But
right.
In fact, John Russo, who co-wrote the script of Night of the Living Dead, he'll be there to Monster Bash, and played one of the zombies. And of course, a lot of them are gone now, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But the Night of the Living Dead is kind of a cutoff point as far as going from more to the modern age of horrors. And the thing I like about Monster Bash is that it's not overwhelming. I've never been to a Chiller convention. My friend Mark Polonia, he goes to that, or has been to that, but he said it's almost sensory overload. And there's huge lines and stuff like that. And you mentioned had on a previous episode about Rico Browning dying.
Yeah.
And Monster Bash, I met him several different times there. And the one time it was a Sunday morning, and not that many people early because we go early. And he was sitting there, and we got talking. He had me sit down by him, and we talked quite a bit. And just very nice man, kind of quiet man, but very nice. And boy, they just there's really I've probably seen 100 or so of these actors and actresses, and only about 3 of them I was a little bit distant. No bad situation, but there were a couple people in the past. You get the idea that they don't really want to be there, and that most of them are so appreciative of the fans, and that's what's nice. And but I love history, so I like the historical connections of a lot of these people, that have worked with some of the great ones.
Oh yeah, yeah. I was gonna bring up Rico too again, because like you said, like we're just losing him, man. But he used to go to all the shows, no matter how old he was. So
yeah, he and of course, Julie Adams used to go to the Monster Bash, and she was the star of the original Creature from the Black Lagoon, and
right,
the sweetest, loveliest lady you'd ever want to meet. Pat Priest was too. She was a very sweet lady, and then Ben Chapman, who played the creature on land, all the walking scene, he carries Julie, and in fact walks her right into this one of the props with a rock and cuts her out because he couldn't see. He's in this thing and he's going, he doesn't realize, and she'll go bump. And the poor lady, but she was a trooper and filmed on, I think, right after that day. But she was telling about them.
Yeah.
And we were standing by a life-size creature of the Black Lagoon that someone had made. Really nice. And she said it looks just like him. She said, except I don't remember the lips being that red. And she said it really wasn't that color green. And she went on to say a couple of them. I said, but other than that, it's exactly like. And she laughed and said, "Yeah."
Nice.
But, she was a lovely lady, and I always enjoyed talking to her. And like I said, it's a lot of these people are, they're very appreciative. Talk about Ed Wood, Dolores Fuller was Ed Wood's girlfriend, and of course, the main thing she wanted to talk about is how much she disliked the lady that played her in Ed Wood movie.
Oh, the Tim Burton version of it.
Yeah, she didn't have much use for her because she went on Letterman or something, said something about her. I forget. I should remember because she told me the whole story. And she was a nice lady. And of course, Conrad Brooks, who plays one of the policemen in Plan 9 from Outer Space, he was one of the first people I met at Monster Bash. And they had, I think it was in Butler, Pennsylvania or something. Anyway, it was in this hall. It wasn't really a great location because they had him like in this hallway of the stairwell. And unfortunately, I saw somebody there, and unfortunately, I made eye contact. And I was stuck for a while. And he tried to sell me everything that he had on his table. And he was a wonderful guy, but he was a hustler. He tried to sell me a Dukes of Hazzard watch. And because he was on an episode of Dukes of Hazzard. And I tried to think up all these reasons why I really didn't need a Dukes of Hazzard watch right now. But he used to come to Monster Bash, and he had been in Glenn and Glenda and Plan 9 from Outer Space and some of these. And a lot of interesting. And he was in the movie Ed Wood. He's the bartender that asked, hey, kid, you want another drink or something like that? That's Conrad Brooks, who he passed away here not too long ago.
So I've always wanted to, because Plan 9 from Outer Space, for people that don't know, is in public domain. I think most of Ed Wood's movies are in public domain.
Probably.
I don't think there's protection on any of them. But I've always wanted to do a Plan 9 from Outer Space movie, and now that we have seen, because we watched another movie too with Daniel Roebuck, I forget which one it was, about vampires. So, but now that we've seen Daniel
the short
Roebuck,
he did,
yeah. But now that we've seen Daniel Roebuck as Grandpa Munster, Sam Dracula, whatever, as a Dracula, I thought it would be really cool to do a Plan 9 from Outer Space remake and have Daniel Roebuck play Ghoul Man, which was played by Bela Lugosi. So I was like, that would be awesome.
Played by Bela Lugosi and by I think it was Dolores Full Chiropractic something because of course he's always like this and he's because they only had like 3 minutes of Bela Lugosi footage that was kind of footage that Wood had just taken that really didn't pertain to much.
No, he just basically had Ed Wood basically just had Bela Lugosi go outside and do a bunch of stuff and shot him doing it and was like, all right, now we're good. Because at the time, Bela Lugosi was kind of more frail. He was getting towards the end of his life at that point. So, but I mean, the way Ed Wood made films, man, like it's like a YouTuber's dream. Like YouTubers do the exact same thing Ed Wood does, except he got shit for it and they don't. And I'm like, what? How is this? Makes no sense. Anyways,
it's interesting because Ed Wood movies are really not all. I mean, I've seen a lot of worse movies than Ed Wood movies. I mean, he put it.
Glenda, Glenn and Glenda would totally go like great right now in society. I think so. But I think real quick, because we're gonna try and get out of here. I got a meeting later today. I wanted to play the trailer for the Monster Bash. I noticed they had a trailer on the website. Is that okay if we do that?
Well, I should make a disclaimer here. I don't represent Monster. I talked to Ron Adams, who runs it, and he said, "Yeah, go ahead."
Okay, cool.
I don't get paid. Let's put it that way.
Neither do we, so don't worry.
But I don't think it's going to go much.
Right. Okay. Let me load it up here, and we will take a gander at it. It's only like a minute, I think, if that.
Yeah. While you're doing that, I got the poster.
Okay, show the poster.
All right.
Oh,
That's up. Nope.
You put
Nope.
it in
How
the
do
background, sir. You put it
How
in
do
the
I do-
background.
Logo.
You put it. You got it.
No. How do I?
You gotta put it in the
Nope.
You gotta put it in the overlay.
Oh.
Yeah, Tivis definitely edits these videos.
I know what I'm doing.
Okay. You got
There
it?
is.
You got
It's
it?
uploading.
You got it?
No. There we go.
All right, there's the poster for people who are watching the video, which you should always at least check out the video every so often, just to see our pretty ugly faces, of course. So Monster Bash, June 16th through the 18th, 2023 at the Marriott Pittsburgh North, with guests, movies, and TV stars, vendors, and film festival. Ooh, the vendors are probably gonna make bank, man. Because I picked up I went to a toy show and picked up a Herman bust that was made along with a Eddie Munster. Oh, I should have taken the Eddie Munster photo when I went to meet Butch, because it's already autographed by him, and I wanted to see if he autographed it again, if it would match up after so long, you know. Because I think the autograph on there was dated 1973 or something like that. I don't remember. So,
I got that image off the Remind website, so they are a much bigger group advertising. So,
yeah. Oh, they're advertising with Remind. Nice.
Yep.
Sweet. Okay. With that said, guys, here, let's watch this quick trailer real quick here.
All right.
Dracula,
what breaks now.
Monsters from Under the Sea, Atomic Frankensteins, and Grandpa Monster 2. Classic monster memorabilia vendors, movie and TV stars, signing autographed photos. It's all coming to the Marriott Pittsburgh North, June 16th through the 18th, 2023. It's Monster Bash. Fans who grew up with monster movies in the theater and on TV will descend on the Marriott Pittsburgh North. Hundreds and hundreds of fans. Don't you scare miss out as fans travel from all over the country to meet, shop, and enjoy classic monster entertainment. Coming to Monster Bash in June, Audrey Dalton, star of The Monster That Challenged the World, and Boris Karloff's thriller TV shows. Charlotte Austin, who starred in Frankenstein 1970 with Karloff, and Ed Wood's The Bride and the Beast. Lynn Lugosi Sparks, the granddaughter of Dracula himself, Bela Lugosi. Daniel Roebuck, star of countless films, TV's Matlock, and Grandpa Munster in the latest Munsters movie. Plus, he's a super fan and collector of classic monster memorabilia. Beverly Washburn, actress in Spider Baby with Lon Chaney Jr., Thriller, and Disney's Old Yeller. Tom Savini, actor, makeup man, special effects genius, with credits that include Creepshow, Tales from the Dark Side, The Black Phone, and so much more. Pamela Pierce, actress and daughter of the director that brought us The Legend of Boggy Creek. John Russo, co-writer and zombie from the original Night of the Living Dead, the origin of the modern zombie. And Ohio TV horror host legend, the one and only Son of Ghoul, still creeping to TV sets after all these years. Plus Cleveland horror hosts Drac and Countess Carita. Monster Bash is wall-to-wall vendors and a giant horror hotel packed with classic monster movie fans. Don't miss out. 3-day VIP admission is $55 in advance or $60 at the door for all 3 packed days. Single-day admission at the door is $25. It's all at the Pittsburgh Marriott North, Friday through Sunday, June 16th through the 18th, 2023. Get your advanced membership admission online at creepyclassics.com. That's creepyclassics.com. More information is available at monsterbash.us or call 724-238-4317. It's Monster Bash.
All right.
So right off the bat, like I said, my wife and I started going to conventions last year together. The size of that one, those are always like my favorite.
The smaller ones,
right off the bat. Yeah, they're more. You get more time to talk to people. The fans, they're always nicer. The crowds, are sort of smaller, so you don't get that con smell as much. It's nice.
Yeah. And man, Scott, I have to tell you, dude, you did a really good job of explaining and like pitching the whole show, because everything you said was pretty much right in there. Besides the phone number, I was like, they should be hiring you. Like, let your buddy know you should be hired. Because
I'll give Ron Adams the link to this, and
tell him to just watch.
He's a really nice guy, but he's really cheap, so I don't think I'm going to get anything out of it.
All right, you said Ron. Okay, listen here. Scott needs at least a 10% at door commission cut for the whole event.
No, that's $2.50. I mean,
there you go, per person. He gets free admission to every event for the rest of his life. I'm
all in favor of it.
And $100 voucher for whatever he wants at the event. There we go. All right.
None of that will ever happen.
It's been a fun talking to you, Scott. I'm so glad we could get you on.
Well, thank you.
Wealth of knowledge.
It. Yeah, knowledge and history, and dude, a lot of the names you brought up are just like I sat in on this live thing back in October on Facebook for this guy for horror stuff, and those were like a lot of the same names I was dropping, and they just looked at me like, what? Huh? Who? Because they were just mentioning like Nev Campbell from Scream, and I'm like, dude, like I love Scream, but you don't get to Scream without this and this and this and this and this. Like you just don't get there. So like I loved hearing all those names from someone else besides my mouth. It's always great, and you're welcome to come back on, man, if you ever want to, or want to pitch something or want to talk about something else, or if Ron helps, pay you next time, tell him, hey, look here, sir.
If I get anything out of that, I'll come on to, if I don't drop dead first because of it.
Like, you want paid? Here's a drink. How about you drink this first?
I'll probably be barred from it now. I mean, that's funny.
It's all jokes, man. It's all jokes. No, we definitely thank you for coming on, man. We still appreciate your patronage every Munster Monday, or you usually post on Mondays too when you watch. So thank you for that. All the comments are always great for when we see the comment tick come up and all that fun shit. So yeah.
Oh yeah.
And I think we've cussed less today because there's a guest.
Well, we are trying to cut back.
My kid told me a few weeks ago, you should make it so kids can listen. I'm like, no kid wants to listen to us talk about the Munsters.
We should think about the parents, though, that play them.
The adults.
Well, they'll listen to it with their kids in the room.
Yeah. I remember because we have another podcast called Operation Babel that we do. And when I started that, and my grandpa was like, so is it clean and stuff? I was like, it's okay. And then it went like off the rails on that show. So I'm like, how about you just don't listen to that one, Grandpa?
Yeah, y'all brought up some crazy stuff.
Yeah, a lot, especially before Tivis joined in. There was some conversations on there that, yeah. Man, I should probably remove half of them from YouTube by now. But yeah, we're very grateful that you came on, man, made time for us and stuff in your day. Do you have any final words to say, Scott, man? Anything
no, but all I can say is if people get a chance to go to the Monster Bash, I think enjoy it. I think they'll definitely have a good time because there's a heck of a lot there to see.
Yes. Yeah, it looks really cool just from the trailer that we saw because, like Tivis said, the littler events, the littler halls and stuff like that, they're always so much more exciting because, and spoilers too for shows. But if you wait till the end of the day, there's usually more discounts in the vendors' tables.
Well, and
All-
they have everything. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, they have toys and magazines and DVDs and I mean, you name it. Posters. There's a whole room of a guy that has all these old classic posters, and they're just interesting to look at.
Yeah, that's awesome.
How are you not buying a ticket already, Mike? This is like everything in your wheelhouse.
Because I'm okay. One, it's really close to my anniversary date. My wife will kill me.
Yeah. Don't get yourself in trouble.
Just like there's a convention in Orlando twice a year. It's called Spooky Empire, so it's like all like horror stuff. They have so much monster stuff, so much everything you can think of all the time. It's in a very big convention. I forget where it's at this year because there's one I think just happened or is coming up. I don't remember anymore. But there's one in October too. But it's the weekend of my wife's birthday. And I'm like,
oh no.
Well, shit, that's never happening.
Is this the one you keep trying to get me to come down to do?
No, there's a bigger convention too. That's like
they will never let us in if you're trying to get us in a bigger convention.
Oh, you mean like for the show for the Munster
Cast?
Yeah, this is the one of the ones I was trying to.
Okay.
It's still a big show, but there's always still like space left over for littler people, or you can just park out in the hallway, which we're a podcast. We don't need big vendor space. We just need to set up.
Just bring our recording stuff and just record in the hallway.
Yeah, just record in the hallway, have guests come up, we'll record them talking about their love for the Munsters and all that stuff. If people out there think that's a good idea, let me know. You can email us at what's that?
I said sounds good to me.
Yeah, see, Tivis, see. You can email us at TheMunsterCast@outlook.com for all your Munster questions, concerns, stories, and even to get onto the show, like Scott here did today. So definitely email us, guys, and message us on social media, all that fun stuff.
And there will be guests in the future. We have quite a few people, Yes,
people are lining up now. Especially with the Munsters today, people just want. I think they want us to take a break every few episodes because they don't want to hear us talk about it. Maybe I'm not sure.
I'm okay with it because this was extremely fun. I enjoyed this.
Yeah,
thank you so much, Scott.
Yes, thank you, Scott, very much. Tivis, any final words today, my man?
Go check out Munster Bash. And look to see what's in your local area as well.
Yes, thank you guys. And also for audio listeners and video listeners too, we're going to put links to the Munster Bash tickets. I said Munster. I keep saying Munster. Monster Bash for the tickets there in the description or show notes and stuff like that, guys. So check that out. And with that said, guys, we will catch you next time as we take another stroll down 1313 Mockingbird Lane.
I want you to learn is it doesn't matter what you look like. You can be tall or short, or fat or thin, or ugly, or handsome.